My name is Tim Gabruch. I'm president of IsoEnergy, and I appreciated a little bit of the press that we got from our colleagues here on the panel. We have been predominantly a Saskatchewan story since we were formed. We were formed as an offshoot out of NextGen back in 2016, and it's just in the last over the last few months that we combined with a company called Consolidated Uranium to become a diversified uranium company, and in many jurisdictions, and really the top jurisdictions for uranium in the world. So I'll get into that story a little bit. If I know how to, there we go. Just disclaimer, there are forward-looking statements, so please be aware of that. So the story, really, we do believe, and I like the way Gwen put it, we are the new IsoEnergy. We believe we are built for this current uranium market. We're highly leveraged to the rising uranium prices today. We have diversity now across tier 1 jurisdictions. So again, we'll get into what we have been. Our flagship project is in Saskatchewan, the Hurricane deposit, but we've brought in projects in the US and Canada, and we think that positions us very well. We have a substantial mineral endowment through all of these projects, including the highest grade indicated uranium resource on the planet at Hurricane. We have a focused production strategy, bringing in Consolidated, brought in some great U.S. projects that are permitted and very quick to production. And that is, of course, what we're aiming to do now that the price has gotten to a point where they are very viable. We also, to Gwen's point, we have a great leadership team. So we combined Consolidated and ISO, and we kept the team. We have geologists with decades and decades of experience in uranium throughout the world. We've got a great team of folks on the M&A side, and a lot of nuclear industry experience in general. Quick company snapshot, about 173 million shares outstanding. Options, just a few warrants coming in from Consolidated. Share price as of a few days ago, but today I think right around 465, just under $800 million Canadian market cap. A little bit of debt with some debentures, but an enterprise value of 713 on this slide. We do have we had about $36 million in cash. We just did a raise flow through for 20 million, so 56 million plus in cash. And the equity holdings we have now are probably somewhere north of 24 million. So very well positioned from a working capital basis. Great shareholders. As I mentioned, we were spun out of NextGen. They've slowly come down a little bit in ownership, but up until the merger, they were at 50%. They're now still a 34% owner, still putting money in to maintain that. So a terrific backing by NextGen. Energy Fuels, as the folks on this panel know, also a top U.S. Producer, soon-to-be producer again, with 5% ownership. Mega Uranium carrying 2% of the company. And very well covered with analyst coverage as well. I put in one slide. I won't go into it in a lot of detail, but just on the market, and Greg did a good job of talking about some of this at the intro, but really, it's just because this is sort of my background. I've been in the market for decades and really haven't seen anything like it to this point. It's a crucial, everybody's started to realize how crucial nuclear is in the fight against climate change. Certainly, there's a geopolitical shift underway with everything happening in Russia, supply out of Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, things happening in Niger. It really speaks to the importance of getting more and more production out of the Western world, out of Canada, US, Australia. And then just the strengthening commitment to nuclear. A few years ago, you couldn't get nuclear mentioned at the COP conferences. This year, we had 22 countries, expanded to 24 now, that all committed to tripling their nuclear capacity over the next number of years. So, and these are leading countries: the U.S., France, Sweden. China wasn't on that list, but it doesn't matter because those guys are already very committed with still 27,000 megawatts under construction. And it just leads us to the supply perspective. There's just a lot of demand out there. Demand's growing, and there hasn't been a lot of supply come on in over the last decade, and there's a big gap to fill. we believe, built for the current uranium market. This is just a comparison of what does the new ISO bring to the table compared to some of our peers. And we really just tick all the boxes. We have past production with a lot of restart potential in our Utah facilities, high-grade portfolio. We have exploration, discovery focus. That remains, even though we brought together a company that had really built through merger and acquisition the consolidated portfolio. We're still very focused on exploration in Saskatchewan and elsewhere. And then it's just the asset diversification and that diversification geographically as well. We are really focusing on exposure to Canada, the US, and Australia, those geopolitically stable jurisdictions that everybody wants to get supply from, but there hasn't been a lot of work done over the last decade. So just very low geographic risk. Very quick snapshot of our portfolio. So you have a blow up of our Athabasca Basin portfolio. This was ISO before the merger. So again, the Rockies is the home of our Hurricane deposit, which is the highest grade deposit in the world. We have more than 20 other deposit or portfolio of projects in the basin that we're continuing to explore. We brought in, you can see the U.S. projects, Tony M, the Rim, Sage, Daneros mine. These are all past producing facilities that are permitted, and these are going to be a focus for IsoEnergy going forward to bring that production into play quickly. And we have an arrangement, contracts in place to be milled at Energy Fuels, which obviously has an interest in us doing that as a 5% owner in the company. We also took on some projects in Argentina and Australia, another area we want to grow in. And this strategy really is, I'll talk about these call options. We've got a couple of projects that have been, basically, there's been some moratoriums or some restrictions on bringing them forward, but they're great projects. They've been unloved, but we will do a lot of work on those. We have these equity holdings in a number of companies, but also just the exploration portfolio. We'll continue to explore in Saskatchewan and the Athabasca, but also expand that over time to Australia, Argentina, and some of the non-core U.S. assets. We are developing Hurricane, so the Hurricane deposit, we are doing work behind the scenes on the technical side, looking at what is the right mining method for that deposit. We've talked a lot about ISR today. There is ISR mining. Denison's taking a stab at that in the basin, the first time it's been done in high-grade deposits. We're looking at that, but also other types of mining that are less invasive and from surface that could potentially be good solutions for Hurricane. And then just, again, the near-term production from the U.S. We will also it's worth noting, continue to look at M&A and growth going forward because we do believe in this market in the long term, and we do think there's still opportunities there that could be a fit with ISO. So to focus for a second on Hurricane, again, highest indicated uranium resource in the world, 48.6 million pounds at 34.5% average grades. Incredibly high, fairly shallow for the basin, 325 meters. Infrastructure, if you want a deposit like this, you want it in the eastern basin. There's roads, there's power, and we're only 40 kilometers from the Orano existing McLean Lake mill. Again, we're looking at different innovative mining methods. That's more work to come on that. That is behind the scenes as we kind of take a step and then make a decision down the road on a PEA. And then we have this very interesting border. You'll see in the bottom left-hand corner, there's a picture of the plan view of the ore deposit, and there's a line there. That is a border with the Cameco Orano project. There's a lot of exploration going on that other side over the last couple of years. I'm not a geologist, but you can tell, even if you're not one, that there's something on the other side. So over time, that will also be a story that develops and is of great interest. So just to highlight this exploration piece, we are going into a winter program. We'll do some more exploration at Hurricane and our Hawk project we're very upbeat about. We did a lot of very interesting geophysical work this past summer with a technology called ANT. It's ambient noise tomography. It's really just looking at the underground structures and geology using seismic waves underground to assess that. And really we used it over top of the Hurricane deposit to kind of set a baseline and then deployed it around that. As you can see on the top picture out to the east of the deposit, we found some similar some similar anomalies. And so these are some of the areas we're going to focus on in our winter program. And we did the same at Hawk. So we're going to, it's an interesting technology and something we really want to go after this winter. And so we've got an 8,250 meter program that's starting within the next week or so. We had a very warm winter up until the last few weeks, and now they're building some ice like crazy. Just quickly, I know I'm running out of time, but Utah, this is really the highlight of our U.S. projects. We will get into the Utah and really be doing some work over this year to bring these projects, especially the Tony M project, back into production. It's an existing producer. Over $100 million in CapEx has been spent to that project, and so there's not a lot to do other than reopen this and then get it to the mill. And Energy Fuels has announced that they will restart the White Mesa mill. That's a huge catalyst for us to move this forward and get into production. These call options, I'll mention quickly. The Coles Hill is the largest uranium deposit in the United States. It's been under a moratorium for years, really just kind of an unloved project. It's in Virginia. This is not an anti-nuclear state. It's got nuclear power plants. It's got fuel facilities. And really, it's just going to take some time and effort to try to unlock that value and try to open up the ability to develop that. Matouche is similar in Quebec. It's within some Indigenous communities. Previous owners, there was not a lot of love lost between these parties. So again, it's just going to take time and effort, and we believe we have the right approach. We have shareholders like NextGen that do take the right approach on these community issues, Indigenous issues, and I think that's going to be our focus over the next little while to unlock the value and bring some of these great projects into the forefront. So that's really it. Just the upcoming catalyst for IsoEnergy. This winter exploration program is always big to get up there and drill in the winter. We've got these U.S. projects. We are going to focus on bringing those to production over the next year. And then just advancing the rest of this portfolio. We brought in a lot of different jurisdictions, different projects, and so we'll do work programs and exploration to bring those forward and then evaluate other accretive M&A opportunities as we look around the world at great uranium projects. That's it. Thank you very much.